Today's lesson is Children Survive 40 Days in Amazon Jungle After Plane Crash. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And we've got a news item to report to you. Even though this happened several months ago, we're still going to talk about it because this is quite an incredible story. It's all about children who survived a plane crash, and they survived 40 days in the Amazon jungle, and they were rescued.
Yes, and these 4 children were siblings, and these kids managed to survive for more than a month in the Amazon jungle. And we're going to look at how they actually did that because we know that the Amazon is not very friendly to humans if humans aren't used to living in the jungle, because most of us today in the modern world are used to living in cities or in places where we have everything ready for us with all the conveniences. So it's not so easy to survive, especially for that long in the jungle, Amazon jungle no less. So we're going to look at the details of this story.
Let's do that. Let's begin our lesson today by listening to the first paragraph, and we'll come right back to break it down for you.
Children survive 40 days in Amazon jungle after plane crash. 4 children between the ages of 13 and 1 were found alive after surviving a plane crash and spending 40 days in Colombia's Amazon jungle. The children's mother, the pilot, and another passenger were killed in the crash.
4 children between the ages of 13 and 1 were found alive after surviving a plane crash and spending 40 days in Colombia's Amazon jungle. The children's mother, the pilot, and another passenger were killed in the crash. So we have all the basic information right here in the first part of the article. We know that there were 4 children and that they range between 13 and 1 in age, and they survived the plane crash and spent 40 days in the Amazon jungle. Now, as we know, the Amazon jungle is really big, so it's found not only in Colombia, but in other countries as well, including Brazil.
Right, the major part of it is in Brazil, but it also goes on into Colombia and Peru and maybe Venezuela. And of course, the Amazon River flows through all those places, and then you've got the jungle around it, so it's a very large area. And they had a plane crash, and they spent 40 days in Colombia's Amazon jungle. That's the part of the Amazon jungle that's in Colombia. And they spent 40 days there. In that jungle, they were able to survive, which is quite incredible because we've got 4 children between the ages of 13 and 1. So they were found alive, and they survived that plane crash. The plane crashed, and then they had to spend some time on the ground there. But there is some tragic news about this. Unfortunately, the children's mother, the pilot, and another passenger were killed in the crash. The kids survived, but these other people did not. Let's move on now to the next part and find out what happened next.
A massive search for the missing children was conducted, with over 100 soldiers and local scouts spending weeks combing through the forest looking for them. They were close to losing hope when the children were finally spotted.
大家好，第二部分我们来介绍形容词 massive， 它的意思是大规模的、巨大的或是大量的。例如 The company underwent massive staff cuts last year. 该公司去年进行了大规模裁员。又或者说 That factory paid massive fines for polluting the river. 那间工厂因为污染河川付了大笔罚金。
A massive search for the missing children was conducted with over 100 soldiers and local scouts spending weeks combing through the forest looking for them. So after it was discovered that the children were missing, because people knew about the plane crash and they couldn't find the children, a massive search for them was conducted. So massive here means very big, huge. So it wasn't a search led by just a few people. It was a massive one with a lot of people looking for these children. And this search was conducted with over 100 soldiers and local scouts. So here, conduct basically means to perform or to carry out a task. And you can use conduct with search. People conduct a search. You can also conduct a survey, which means to perform or to carry out a survey. You can conduct an investigation. So conduct is a verb that can be used in many contexts with many nouns. Again, a massive search for the missing children was conducted with over 100 soldiers and local scouts spending weeks combing through the forest looking for them. Local scouts here refer not to soldiers or people with any official tasks or jobs, but locals, people who lived in the area or who knew the area very well and who were able to use their knowledge of the area to look for these children.
Right, and they spent quite a lot of time combing through the forest looking for them. So here we've got the verb to comb through, which means you look for something and you need to look for minute details in that thing. Just like a comb goes through your hair and sorts out hundreds of different hairs on your head, here they were combing through the forest, going between all these many thousands of trees, trying to find these children. They were combing through the forest, looking for them. And they were close to losing hope when the children were finally spotted. So you can imagine when they were searching for so long, they had already searched for a week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and they thought, they must not have survived. How could anybody survive in the Amazon jungle for so long? So they were probably losing hope. At that point, they probably thought, we're lucky if we actually are able to find their bodies.
Yes, but they didn't give up. They kept on searching, and finally they were able to find these children. And in the next part, we're going to see what the children did in order to survive 40 days in the jungle.
Well, let's find out now. Let's listen to the third and final part of our lesson for today. We'll listen to it first.
To survive, the children consumed cassava flour that had been brought on the plain, wild fruits, and water collected from streams and rain showers. Officials have credited the children's survival skills to their traditional knowledge of the jungle. As members of the Witoto indigenous group, the children knew what to eat and what to avoid, and their indigenous origins also made them immune to certain jungle diseases. The eldest of the 4 children, who was accustomed to looking after her siblings when their mother was at work, was especially praised for keeping the other 3 children alive. The children's survival is a testament not only to their own resilience but also to the strength of the indigenous culture.
第3部分我们看到单字 indigenous， 这个形容词指的是土生土长的、本土的或是本地的。例如 Taiwan is home to several indigenous tribes. 台湾有好几个本土的部落。又或者说 Colonists displaced the island's indigenous population. 殖民开拓者迫使该岛上的本土居民流离失所。再来我们看到 accustomed， 这个形容词的意思是习惯的、适应的或是惯常的。例如 Though he lived in Mexico for several years, Jacob never became accustomed to the spicy food. 尽管在墨西哥生活了几年， Jacob 始终不习惯辛辣的食物。另外这个字去掉字尾 ed 就会变成动词 accustom。例如It takes time for me to accustom myself to a new environment. 我需要时间来适应一个新环境。或者 You have to accustom yourself to extreme weather if you want to move to that country. 如果你想搬到那个国家，你必须让自己适应极端的天气。接下来我们看到片语 look after 加名词，它的意思是照顾点点点或是照料点点点。例如 Angie will look after my cats when I'm away. 我不在时 Angie 会帮我照顾猫。又或者说 The nurse is looking after the patient. 那位护理师正在照顾病患。接下来我们看到名词 sibling， 这个字的意思是兄弟姐妹或是手足。例如 My siblings and I gave our mother a new dress for her birthday. 我和我的兄弟姐妹在妈妈生日时送她一件洋装。或是 It's very lucky for me to have grown up with such caring siblings. 我很幸运能够和如此充满关爱的手足一起长大。最后来介绍名词 resilience， 这个字的意思是弹性或是恢复力，也可以是平复的意思。例如 This young man lacks resilience and has a quickness to take offense. 这位年轻人既缺乏韧性，又易受冒犯。或是 Although the earthquake caused great damage, the survivors showed amazing resilience. 尽管地震带来巨大的损失，那些幸存者们却展现了惊人的恢复力。
To survive, the children consumed cassava flour that had been brought on the plane, wild fruits, and water collected from streams and rain showers. So one thing that was of concern was, what were the children eating? If you spend 40 days in the jungle, you have to have food and water. Well, the children were able to resolve that problem by, first of all, consuming cassava flour. Consume here is another word for eat or use up. You can also consume energy, which means to use up energy, but you can consume food, which means to eat food. The children ate cassava flour. Now, cassava flour is a particular type of flour that comes from the root of a tropical plant called cassava. And it's something that's very common in South America, but we don't really have it here in Taiwan. At least it's not popular. So they survived by consuming cassava flour. And this is flour that they had brought with them on the plane. It wasn't something they found in the jungle, but they already had it on the plane with them. And along with cassava flour, they also ate wild fruits, and they were able to collect clean water from streams and rain showers.
So a stream, of course, is like a small river. Of course, there are lots of streams here in Taiwan. And to a certain extent, the water is okay. You can drink it depending on your elevation or depending on the area around the stream. But in this particular case, they collected water from streams, and they also got water from rain showers. So when rain falls, they could collect the water, and then they could drink that as well.
Officials have credited the children's survival skills to their traditional knowledge of the jungle. So when people asked how was it that these children were able to survive the jungle for 40 days, well, officials said it's because the children had traditional knowledge of the jungle, and that's what contributed to their survival skills. And here we have the phrase, credit something to some other thing or to somebody. Now, if you credit something to somebody, it means you believe that that person is responsible for the thing. So I could also say the success of the company can be credited to the new CEO. Here, the children's survival skill can be credited to their traditional knowledge of the jungle.
Or I could credit my ability to speak Spanish to my high school Spanish teacher. He was quite good at teaching Spanish. So I can speak Spanish fairly well because of him. I credit him to my success. You could also say this to someone, you're a credit to your profession. In other words, you're very good at what you do. You're very good at your profession. So here, basically, it says that they credited the children's survival skills to their traditional knowledge of the jungle. In other words, because they had this traditional knowledge of the jungle, they were able to survive. And as members of the Huitoto indigenous group, the children knew what to eat and what to avoid. So this is an indigenous group. Indigenous just refers to the first people who live in a certain area. Of course, here in Taiwan, we have lots of indigenous peoples like the Atayal, the Amis, the Bunong, etc. Those are all indigenous groups of people. And in this particular case, they were members of the Huitoto indigenous tribe there. And I guess they were close to nature there. They were from the Amazon forest, so they knew already what they can eat and what they can't eat, what they should avoid.
And their indigenous origins also made them immune to certain jungle diseases. Since these children belong to the indigenous group, it means that they were also able to avoid catching certain diseases in the jungle. Now, other people who are not familiar with living in the jungle or who have not been there for a long time may not be immune to these diseases, which means that they may catch these diseases that are associated with the jungle. Here, immune means that you can't catch something. If you're immune to a disease, you can't catch the disease.
Right, so maybe some people were wondering, hey, if I've already had COVID, am I immune from the disease now? And I think they found, no, you're not. You probably could still get it. But in this particular case, they had had lived in the jungle for quite some time, so they were immune to certain diseases in the jungle. Their bodies had already built up defenses against those viruses and those bacteria, whereas other people from different parts of the world probably would have gotten sick and most certainly would have died. Now, here the final paragraph says, the eldest of the 4 children, who was accustomed to looking after her siblings when their mother was at work, was especially praised for keeping the other 3 children alive. So, of course, we've got the eldest of the 4 children. Remember, the ages of the children ranged from 13 to 1. So here, of course, the eldest, or the oldest, you could also say, was 13 years old, and she was accustomed to looking after her siblings. If you're accustomed to something, you are used to it. It's happened a lot, and you know how to react to it.
Right, so this eldest sibling, this 13-year-old, was used to looking after her siblings. In other words, she was used to taking care of her brothers and sisters. Siblings are brothers and sisters, and to look after means to take care of. So she was already used to doing this in the past when their mother was at work. So being the eldest, being the oldest of the 4 children, it was her job to take care of the younger children. So now that she has the task of taking care of them after the plane crash, it wasn't something new to her. It was something that she knew how to do already. She was already accustomed to it.
She was looking after her siblings. Looking after, as you said, means to take care of, keep an eye on them. And a sibling, of course, is your brother or your sister, whether older or younger. They're all siblings. And she had done this before because their mother was at work, so she had to take care of the kids. So she was used to this, and she was especially praised for keeping the other 3 children alive. She became a great hero, and everybody around the world heard about her story.
The children's survival is a testament not only to their own resilience, but also to the strength of the indigenous culture. So this story of survival of the children really captivated the attention of people around the world when it first came out. And the reason is that people were interested not only in the children's survival skill, and this incident is a testament to their resilience. Testament here means to show that something actually exists. And this incident of surviving in the jungle shows that the children have a lot of resilience. And resilience means strength, a strength that allows you to survive and to pull through different dangerous situations. So this accident was proof that the children had a lot of strength to survive difficult situations.
Right. Testament in this particular meaning indicates evidence or something that proves something is the case. It's a testament not only to their own resilience, but also to the strength of the indigenous culture. It's truth that has happened. As an example of the word testament, I could say the company's recent sales figures are a testament to our successful marketing strategy. So here, of course, their survival is proof not only of their resilience, but also to the strength of their indigenous culture. So indeed, do not underestimate indigenous cultures. They certainly can survive in the wild, while the rest of us city folk would be totally lost. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. It's time now to listen to Hanny, our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第2部分提到，大规模搜寻失踪孩子的行动开始进行，100多名士兵和当地的侦察队花了好几周的时间来仔细搜索森林，来寻找他们。那后半句它是用到 with over 100 soldiers and local scouts spending weeks combing through the forest looking for them， 用这个部分来表达。那它用到的结构就是 with 加上受词加上受词补语。那这样的句型是用来附带说明主要子句的状况。受词后面的受词补语呢，我们可以用到分词、形容词或者是介系词片语。那如果要用分词当受词补语的话，就要从这个受词和受词补语的关系来判断。主动关系就是用现在分词 VING， 被动关系就是用过去分词 PP。 好，那我们来看3个例句哦。第一个例句 It's bad manners to talk with your mouth full. 满嘴食物还说话是不礼貌的。那我们用到 with your mouth full， 这边的受词补语就是用 full， 用形容词。好，第二个例句是 She couldn't concentrate with the kids running around。孩子们跑来跑去，他没办法专注。那孩子们会自己跑来跑去嘛？所以这边受词 the kids 后面我们是接 running， 用像这样的 VING 的形式来当受词补语。好，再来第3个例句是 With our bags packed, we're ready to hit the road。我们的包包打包好了，准备要出发了。那 with our bags packed， 这个 our bags 背包是被打包的，那受词跟受词补语的关系是被动，所以我们才会用过去分词 packed 来当补语。好，那么课文第3部分提到，为了生存，孩子们食用飞机上带的木薯粉、野果和从溪流以及阵雨当中收集来的水。那文中是用 consume 来表达食用。我们来学习它的字首字根。好，看到 SUME 或是 SUMPT 这一类字根有拿、消耗或是花费的意思。那在 consume 这个字当中，它的字首 CON 是当强调用， SUME 是花费取用，那合在一起 consume 它就有消耗花费，它还有吃喝饮用的意思。好，那也补充2个有这一类字根的单字。第一个是 sumptuous， SUMPTUOUS。 好，那它的字根 SUMPT 表示花费，那最后的这个 OUS 是形容词字尾，把它合在一起 sumptuous 就是用来形容昂贵的、奢侈的或者是豪华的。第二个补充的是 resume， 它的字首 RE 表示再次，那么字根 SUME 表示取用，合在一起 resume 它就有继续进行啊、重新开始的那种意思。好，那以上是今天的重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Massive. Building the new stadium will require a massive amount of resources. Conduct. A fireman from the local fire department conducted a safety demonstration at our school today. Consume. Doctors suggest that people consume lots of fruits and vegetables to maintain good health. Indigenous. The rights of indigenous tribes have often been neglected by national governments. Immune. Regular exercise can help strengthen the immune system. Sibling. Of Veronica's 3 siblings, her younger sister has the most similar personality.
Discussion starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter. Do you think you could survive being lost in the jungle for 40 days? Why or why not?
I think I'd have trouble surviving that long in the jungle, considering that I don't think I would be able to survive in the Amazon jungle for 3 days.
Interesting. Okay, well, I think I'd be able to last for 40 days in the jungle because when I was in high school, we went out in the forest for a little while and we learned some survival skills on what plants you can eat, what plants you can't eat. Although it might depend on where I'm stranded. If I'm in a North American forest, maybe I could survive for 40 days. But if I were stranded in a forest here in Taiwan or in Brazil, I think I'd be in big trouble. I probably wouldn't last 1 day.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.